Hi guys, I hope you had a good weekend. Now when you're coming in, make sure you put your stuff in your cubbies and you come sit down at your desk at a voice level 0. I put up the agenda for today, and if you look up at the agenda, it says you need to have a piece of paper and a pencil. So I shouldn't see anything else out on your desk when I walk around. So go ahead and make sure everything's off your desk except a piece of paper and a pencil. Okay. So now that we have our piece of paper and pencil out, we are going to start class by doing a little read aloud of a book called Chickens on the Move. So when I do this read aloud, a person will be up on a video reading the book to you. So I expect you to be paying attention and listening to the story because the activities we do in class will follow along with the story. So I want to make sure everybody's eyes are up on the board before I begin this story. Alright, here we go.
By Pam Pollock and Meg Belviso, illustrated by Lynn Adams. Tom, Ann, Gordon, called Mrs. June. Grandpa's here. He has a surprise for you. What is it, Mom? Asked Ann. Look, said her brother Tom. Chickens! Are they pets? Asked Gordon. For us? The chickens ruffled their feathers and squawked. You bet, Grandpa said, and we'll have fresh eggs whenever we want. Where will they live? Asked Gordon. I'm going to build them a house, said Grandpa. You kids can make a coop. That's like a yard with a fence around it. Where should we put the coop? Ann said. How about next to Grandpa's vegetable garden? Said Tom. Or up on the hill? Let's put it next to the house, said Ann. That way we'll be able to see the chickens all the time, even when we're inside. Could they stay in my room? Gordon asked. Ann and Tom smiled. Not really, Tom said. They carried the fence around to the side of the house. I'll roll it out, said Ann. I'll work on the posts, said Tom. I'll talk to the chickens, said Gordon. When they were finished, they had a long, narrow rectangle. It was 9 feet long and 3 feet wide. That's the skinniest chicken coop I've ever seen, said Grandpa. Grandpa set the chickens down inside the coop. They walked back and forth, clucking and pecking at the grass. I still wish they could stay in my room, Gordon said. Earth to Gordon, said Tom. Chickens aren't house pets. They have to stay in a coop, Grandpa said. An outdoor coop. Besides, said Ann, look how happy they are. They like it out here. Buck, 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 said the chickens. Before he went to bed, Gordon looked out his window. Good night, chickens, he called. Tom and Ann leaned out their windows, too. Sleep tight, chickens, called Ann. Don't let the bed bugs bite, called Tom. The chickens didn't answer. They were already asleep. Buck, buck, buck was the first thing Gordon heard the next morning. He raced outside. Mom and Dad were already there. So were Grandpa, Tom, and Ann. Nobody looked happy. I thought chickens were quiet, said Ann. Now I'm glad they didn't stay in my room, said Gordon. Maybe we should move the chickens next to Grandpa's garden, Tom said. Then they wouldn't wake us up, said Ann. This time, they made the chicken coop a little wider. The job took longer than anyone thought it would. The hardest part was catching the chickens. Maybe these are racing chickens, said Tom, panting. I'm really glad they aren't staying in my room, thought Gordon. There would be feathers all over the place. A little later, Grandpa decided to water his vegetables. He sprayed the tomatoes, the string beans, and the zucchini. He also sprayed the chickens. Whoops, said Grandpa. I guess chickens don't like getting wet, Gordon said. We'd better move the coop away from the garden, said Anne. Maybe we should put the chickens on the hill, said Tom. That's far from the garden, said Anne. And the house, said Gordon. At the top of the hill, they made a square coop that was 6 feet on each side. Now the chickens have more room to play, said Anne. They won't get splashed, Gordon said. And they won't wake us up, said Tom. Maybe they'll like it here, Anne said. The next morning, Grandpa said, Hey, kids, check out the coop. There might be a surprise. He was right. There were 3 eggs, 1 each, said Tom. I'll carry them, said Gordon. Careful, said Anne. Gordon tried to be careful, but he tripped and dropped the eggs. They started rolling away. Get them, shouted Tom, but the eggs were rolling too fast. They rolled down the hill and into the pond. Tom fished the eggs out of the pond. Good thing they didn't break, he said. One's smaller than the others, said Anne. It's a funny little egg, Gordon said. Let's bring them up to the house, said Tom. And let's get something to drink, said Gordon. I'm thirsty. We'd better find another place for the chickens, Anne said. It's a long trip up and down the hill. Especially if I trip, said Gordon. We tried near the house. We tried next to the garden, and we tried up on the hill, said Tom. What's left? They walked all around. Anne stopped between the apple tree and the garage. Let's try putting it here, she said, but no matter how they tried, the coop just wouldn't fit. Now what? Said Tom. Does a coop have to have 4 sides? Asked Gordon. Tom and Anne thought hard. No, they said. Then why don't we make it with 3 sides? Gordon said. Why didn't we think of that? Said Anne. The chickens explored their new yard. They like it, said Gordon. Each one has its own corner, Tom said. It's just perfect, said Anne. I'm hungry now, Gordon said. No wonder, said Tom. We never had breakfast. Let's go, Anne said. Gordon, do you want the small egg? Asked Mrs. Doone. Okay, Gordon said as he peered at the tiny egg. Suddenly it started to rock back and forth. Then it cracked. A tiny turtle poked his head out. Mom! Gordon cried. Can I keep him? Where? Asked Mrs. Doone. In my room, said Gordon. He had it all figured out.
Okay, so now that we just read the story, I want to have a little discussion on the perimeter chart from the last page of the story that we just saw. So it gave us all those figures with numbers, and it states that Jordan says that the perimeter on each figure is equal to 24 feet. It asked if he is right and how do you know. So I want you all to think individually for a minute. And while you're thinking, go ahead and get out your whiteboards and write whether you think he's right if all these figures equal out to 24 feet. Or if he is wrong, and then think about why you know. So on the whiteboard, I want you to either write yes or no. And then flip it over so nobody else sees your answer. And when I'm ready, I'm going to call everybody to turn their whiteboards over and hold them up for me. Okay, so now that everybody has their answer, go ahead and hold up your whiteboards. Alright. So, Bella, why do you think that he is right? You wrote yes on your whiteboard, so why do you think that? How do you know that he's right? Okay, because if you look at the triangle, it had 8, 8, and 8. There's 3 sides, and each side each side length was 8, right? And so 8 plus 8 plus 8 equals 24. Okay, that's a good answer. And then if you look at the other polygons, they have the similar, different numbers, but they equal out to 24, right? Okay, good job. So go ahead and put your whiteboards away and only have out on your desk a piece of paper and a pencil. I shouldn't see anything else out on your desk, so make sure those whiteboards and expo markers are put away. Okay, so now that we put our expo markers and whiteboards away, I'm going to pass out everyone a little baggie with straws and pipe cleaners in it. So when I hand you this baggie, and I'm also going to hand you a roller too. So put this on your desk, but don't get them out until I go over the instructions. So let me go ahead and pass these out to everybody. So what I first want you to do is get all the straws out on your desk, okay? And pipe cleaners. And put the straw lengths together. So like the little ones, put those together, the big one, and then there's like a medium-sized one too. So go ahead and put those together. Let me flip this camera around so we can see what we're going to do together. So now that you got them all separated together, we are going to make straw polygons. So what I want you to do is we are going to do this first one together. So take 2 of these and then 2 of the middle ones and make a rectangle with them. Okay, so there's my rectangle. Now the pipe cleaners, you can use those to kind of put the corners together so that way it doesn't move and it's not off on both sides. But I do not have any pipe cleaners here, so I'm just going to use the straws. So now that you created a shape, what you're going to do is go ahead and put your shape on a piece of paper. So draw the same exact shape on the piece of paper. My rectangle's a little wonky, but it's okay. So now that you drew your shape, what you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler and make sure it's on the inches side. And you're going to measure the side length. So let's look at this one. That one seems to be 4 inches long. So on your piece of paper, since it's on the bottom side, so right here, you're going to write 4 inches. So what do we know about rectangles? Oh, there goes my rectangle. So what do we know about rectangles? Well, this one looks to be the same size, and this side looks to be the same, because we have 2 of the same side lengths, right? So we can go ahead and write that this one is also 4 inches. And if you want to check that, you can. So, yep. Let's see here. If you look, it's about 4 inches long, right? So now go ahead and do the other length. It's a little hard to see here on my camera, but alright, so that one seems to be about 2 inches long. So again, so this is 2 inches. So that means this one's also the same size. So this is also 2 inches. And you can go ahead and check that if you want to. So that's 2 inches. So now what you're going to do after you made your straw polygons and you wrote it out, you are going to find the perimeter. So what do we know about perimeter? What does it seem like from the book and the discussion we had? What do we have to do to find the perimeter? Well, we have to add up all the sides and the distance around the shape, and that's how we find perimeter. So on to the side, I want you to add up 4 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2. So go ahead and add that up. Alright, somebody tell me what you got. 12, right? Alright, so 12, and then what do we have here? Inches. So it's 12 inches. And that's your perimeter. So now what I want you to go ahead and do is do this again. Make any type of polygon. You could do a star, you could do a pentagon, a square. Use all of your straws. Go ahead and try to use your straws and make another shape and do the same thing. So make the shape and then draw it, measure it, and then find the perimeter. So do that for like 1 or 2 more shapes, and then we will gather up our items and talk about it. So go ahead and draw your next shape. Make sure to let me know if you have any questions, because I'll be walking around and I'll be able to help you if you have any questions. Okay guys, so now I want you to go ahead and gather up all your materials and put them back in the plastic bag for me. So I should see everybody putting the materials in the plastic bag. So once your material's in the bag, hold it up for me and I'll come around and collect it. Now you can keep your shape papers on your desk to the side because I'm going to collect those later after I hand out your exit slip. So everybody, give me your materials. Alright, so now I want to talk about perimeter and what it means and talk about the activities that we did with it to show perimeter. So let's look up here. Let's start with perimeter. So who can tell me what they think perimeter is? What have we been doing? What did you just do with your square polygons? You had to measure and then you added up all the sides around the shape, right? So perimeter is the distance around a shape. And so if we take a rectangle, so let me draw a rectangle up here. And we say this side's 8 feet and this side is 4 feet. And then that means this side's going to be 8 feet because this side and this side are the same length, right? And then this side will also be 4 feet because it's the same length as this side. So now what you do is it's the distance around the shape. So you're going to add 8 plus 8 plus 4 plus 4. And can somebody tell me what that is? That's 24, right? So the answer is 24 because that's the distance around the shape. And then the units is feet. So that would mean it's 24 feet. And that would be the perimeter. So you've learned about area. And with area, you're doing length times width. But with perimeter, you're adding all the sides together. You're not just doing length times width because that'll give you a different number than adding all the sides together. And also with area, you're filling up the area with square units rather than with perimeter. You're just measuring around the border of a shape, which is made up of straight lines or linear units. That's why you use the units with the numbers. So lastly, what I want you to remember is for perimeter, what needs to stick in your head is that for perimeter, you add all sides. So when a problem asks you, find the perimeter of the rectangle or find the perimeter of a polygon, what are you going to do? Can someone tell me what you're going to do? Yes, you're going to add all the sides. Good job. So now that we just learned about perimeter, I want to extend our knowledge a little bit further and think about perimeter and watch a short little vocabulary video that discusses perimeter, and it'll mention area, but really focus on perimeter since that's what we're learning about today. So just as a reminder, make sure you're paying attention to the video. I should see everybody's eyes up on the smartboard. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the video.
It's
It's the year 2060 and you're colonizing Mars. You're about to buy a plot of land, but you have a dog and you want to make sure he has enough space to run around. You also want to build a fence so he can't escape. So first you want to know how big the backyard is, and then you want to know how far it is around. To figure this out, you have to find
the area. That's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around the shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great with the area. That's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around the shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great. Yeah, here I am on Mars, trying to find out the size of my backyard. Well, it's a rectangle, right? So what if we cut it into squares of the same size that are 1 unit long by 1 unit wide? These are called square units. Add them all up, surprise! You've got 72 square units, or feet, cause that's the unit we're using. Well, who has time to count squares? Length times width is the quickest way to get there. Yeah, that's how you find the area. A nice little formula that'll take care of you. And I need to hurry cause my dog is starving. Let's find the area so I can feed Marvin. My yard is 9 feet long by 8 feet wide. I get the area when I multiply each side. And 9 times 8 is 72. But here's another way for you to think it through. Basically, you take the rows and figure how many square units fit inside of those. Yo, my backyard is wide, 8 feet. So that's 8 rows with 9 square units in each. So multiply the 8 rows by the 9 square units. You get 72. Yup, you knew it. The area, that's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around the shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great with the area. That's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around the shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great. Now I've got my area for my yard on Mars, and there's plenty of room for Marvin to live large. But now I need a fence, cause I heard the animals on Mars could be intense. So I'll need a perimeter, the distance around my whole yard. How do you get it? Yeah, just add up the length of the sides. 9 plus 8 plus 8 plus 9's a perimeter of 34 feet. And oh yeah, that's regular units and not units squared. So let's take a look from another angle. To get the perimeter of a square or rectangle, you add 2 widths plus 2 lengths. Here's a formula, don't forget to say thanks. 2 times length plus 2 times width to get a square or rectangle perimeter quick. So let's try it with my Martian backyard. Come on, get ready, y'all. It's not that hard. 2 times the length of 9 is 18. And 2 times the width of 8 is 16. And 16 plus 18 is 34. Now if I could stop Marvin from making a dirty floor. Come on, Marvin. Seriously.
Now that we watched the vocabulary video, I want us all to play a game called Spin the Perimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and pass these papers out to you, and I'll also pass out a paper clip, and you'll need your pencil. So let me go ahead and pass these out to you. So this game you're going to be playing with your shoulder partner, because one person is going to need to be the spinner, and then the other person is going to need to draw the rectangles on the paper. So you're going to take turns. One person will be the spinner, and then the other will draw and find the perimeter, and then you'll switch. So then that person can be the spinner, and then you can draw the rectangle. So let's go ahead and read the directions, and I'll show you how to play the game. Everyone should have their paper in front of them, and I'm going to go ahead and read the directions. So it says, use a paper clip and pencil to make a spinner. Spin the spinner 2 times. Draw a rectangle with the length and width of the numbers. Find the perimeter of your rectangle. See how many rectangles you can draw on one page. So you're going to be doing this with your shoulder partner. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the paper, one person is going to put the paper clip in the middle, and then the person's going to take their pencil and put it right here. And then they're going to spin it twice. So that first landed on a 4, and then the next time, let's try this again. Hard to do with the camera. But say the next time it landed on 5. So the other partner is going to come down here, and I already did it to show you. So it landed on 2 and 5. So you're going to go down 2. And you can write a 2 here so you can remember. And then you're going to go over 5 squares. And you can write the 5 there. And then it's going to be the same length on both sides. So you write a 2 and then a 5. So then you will write 2 plus 5 plus 2 plus 5. Because that's how you find the perimeter, right? You add up all the sides. And then you will add the total and you get 14. So then after the person that solves this, it'll be their turn to do the spinner, and then their partner will have to do this. And so each of you will want to fill up your page to try to see how many rectangles you can fit on your paper. So go ahead and get this started if nobody has any questions. All right, go ahead and start. All right, so let's go ahead and stop what we're doing. And it's okay if you didn't fill up your whole sheet. It's not for a grade. I just want to see how you guys did. So I'm going to go ahead and collect the paper clip and your game sheet. And I'm also going to collect your straw polygon paper from earlier. So let me go ahead and collect those papers. So now that we've extended our knowledge, the last thing I want to do for my lesson is give you all the exit slip. Now, you've seen this before. This is going to be your post-assessment. You've done this already with your pre-assessment. So now I want to see what you guys have learned with my lesson. So let's go ahead and read the instructions. First, what I want you to do is get out your privacy shield. Sorry, I forgot about that. So let's go ahead and get out our privacy shields. Alright, so now that everybody has their privacy shields out and their exit slip, let's all read the directions together. So it says, find the perimeter of the polygons. Make sure to show your work. And so it says the perimeter of the rectangle is blank. So after you show your work, you're going to write what the perimeter is there. And then the perimeter on the next one, it asks to find the perimeter of the pentagon. So you're going to write the perimeter on the line and show your work out to the side. Does everybody understand what they have to do? Is there any questions? Alright, you'll have till the end of class to finish this exit slip, so go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and collect your exit slips before we leave for class. And I want to thank you guys so much for participating in my lesson today. And I hope you have a great weekend.